I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain.
And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and joining me is my co-host, Jim Serro.
Hey Bob, is this the under construction edition of the Horizon Roundtable? Because every team's roster is currently under construction.
Seems like it. And we'll talk a little bit about that, because damn. Jim, you can find on Twitter at Jim Serro. You can find us on the web at horizonroundtable.com. You can pull up links to all of our social media accounts and sites where podcasts are available at horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. You can actually also go there and sign up for email alerts. Get stories in your inbox when they're posted. horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. Become a patron. Patreon.com/horizonroundtable. As we're getting them together. Our summer features, they're going to kick off the first week of June, and they're going to be exclusive to Patreon. So it's $1 a month, guys. You can get all those stories, get all that good work, become a patron. And of course, you can always donate at horizonroundtable.com/donate. Yes, to your point, Jim, it seems like everybody is filing out of the Horizon League. The first days of the transfer portal opening, and everybody seemed to get out of Dodge. I talked about it in the on the live YouTube show, and there's actually been other things going on besides that. We'll talk a little bit about the whole transfer portal situation, but I want to switch gears a little bit, Jim, because a couple of other things came down that have taken place this week that I wanted to discuss. And most importantly, no, not the Cleveland State women's job. That hasn't been announced yet, so I'm sure it will be eventually, and they better hurry up because, geez, the portal's open and they may need some players. Just throwing that out there. But Maria Marchesano is now at Butler, which of course makes sense because she's a Butler alum. They absolutely need somebody because Austin Parkinson didn't really work out. 1 + 1 = 2.
That's such a Butler move, going with the alum. You know, they did it for men's basketball basically every time. And
they did it this time with Ronald Norrid.
Yep, that's their...
Jesus, I'm old enough to remember when he was playing.
Yep, keep it in the family. That's the Butler way. And I think it's probably a pretty good hire for the women's basketball side of things. Obviously, tremendous amount of success was had at Purdue Fort Wayne on the women's basketball side. And so
just a complete turnaround. If anybody remembers Purdue Fort Wayne in the before times, they were terrible. So the fact that Maria Marchesano was able to get that ship turned around was just nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, I don't know much about what was going on for Butler women's basketball that necessitated the change. Obviously, you know, the previous coach who was at IU, the artist formerly known as IUPUI, now known as IU Indy, you know, when he was having success with the Jaguars, what was the center that they had, the really tall?
Macy Williams.
Yeah.
They had Macy Williams. She was all world, got drafted, got picked by the Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA draft, if I recall correctly.
Yep. And so sometimes you wonder, you know, if somebody's success is heavily influenced by having one really, really good player. And but then again, IU Indy hasn't been that great on the women's basketball side since Coach Parkinson left. But
that is correct.
I thought it was kind of interesting. I saw a little thing on Twitter. One of their girls that they had committed out of high school, she decommitted and committed to Indiana Wesleyan. And I thought, well, you know what? That's actually kind of maybe a microcosm of what the problem might have been. No knock on her. She seemed like a lovely lady who had her priorities straight. But it was like, okay, you were going to play in the Big East, and now you're going to play
in the not Big East, not even in Division I.
Yeah, and so
kind of amazing.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was part of what's going on. But of course, I'm sure Coach Parkinson will get a second opportunity or somewhere.
I
And
guess. I
yeah,
mean, really, I mean, if you
yeah.
look at it, I mean, he did better. I mean, he did take over a team that was 1-27, but if you look at his results, they are absolutely nothing to write home about. I mean, that it did not go well. I mean, he never finished 500, always below, always sub 500, and definitely way he was always, Butler would always seem to be kind of hovering near the bottom of the Big East standings, which, given it's the Big East, is not a good place to be. You don't want to be, yeah, probably, a few too many seasons of being too many seasons of being UConn's punching bag, I suppose. But
Well,
yeah,
a lot of teams get that claim to fame.
yeah, that's
They
true.
steamroll a lot of the Big East. But yeah,
Well,
Butler's
they
an interesting
steamrolled
job.
all of the Big East because weren't they? Pretty sure they were. Yeah, but it was not good for them. So that was the end
Yeah,
of them.
I feel like
And it,
for Butler, like the move to the Big East overall, obviously gives them the cachet of being in the Big East, and they've redone their practice gym and they've upgraded Hinkle. But at the end of the day, I feel like they haven't fully been able to capitalize on the financial component that it takes to be really good at high level men's basketball. I mean, you see what players cost in today's day and age, and they
sure.
had. I know they had spent a significant amount of money on former Purdue Fort Wayne player Jalen Jackson, and he got hurt, so
Mm.
that obviously impacted him. So, but the players that they've spent money on haven't necessarily probably given them the return that they've needed, and so
Sure.
it's kind of a yeah.
Speaking of Jalen Jackson, his twin sisters are actually going to be staying at Butler to play for Marcasano. I did find that out.
Oh, nice.
So hey, the Jacksons will all be in Indianapolis, all of them. If I think they have a younger sister who signed, I believe she committed to IU Indy, if I'm not mistaken. So, yep, they're all gonna be hanging out in Indy soon.
Yeah, I'm actually curious in for Butler basketball, for women's basketball, there were a number of girls from Wisconsin where I live, and they're, I believe, all in the transfer portal. And then they also had a girl, I believe, from Wisconsin committed to them out of high school. So I'll be curious to see where those girls end up going. But as far as, you know, as it relates to the Horizon roundtable, I think it's
Yeah.
interesting how quickly, one, the Parkinson news came down and then they had the hire in place. So clearly some back channeling was in being done to get that ready to go, that they're able to move so fast. And then it also makes you think,
Really?
Fort Wayne had some
It-
back channel, going as well. They must have been in the no, because they made their hire incredibly quickly as well.
yes, very quickly. Quicker than some people's alma mater. Oh my God. So yes. As it turns out, and I alluded to this, I believe I alluded to this. Oh no, I didn't. Kyle did, who's been all over this so far. By the way, shout out whoever leaked the Killsmeyer leaving for Texas State thing, Nick Camino. Appreciate that, guys. Awesome work on somebody's end over there. Anyway, dude's like the Vulture from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You know that? Remember that show? I do. I binge watch it all the time. Dude's the Vulture. Look it up. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, um, to your point, Purdue Fort Wayne moved with lightning fast speed, and it didn't occur to me that the same one of the same people that reportedly was Cleveland State was targeting was somebody that Purdue Fort Wayne was also targeting. And it turns out Purdue Fort Wayne won out because Peterson Abiad is going to be their new head coach. The former Cleveland State head coach, the most recent assistant coach for Calcareous over in your neck of the woods, Green Bay, she's back in the Horizon League.
I don't know her at all, but I think it says a lot about her that two Horizon League schools that are at the top of the standings may have
Yeah.
had interest in her. especially she had taken a break from coaching. She was in more of an administrative role with the Wisconsin High School Athletic Association, and so it says a lot about her. That's two schools were interested, and it says a lot about, in the case of Purdue Fort Wayne, that they did hire her. It says a lot about her that Purdue Fort Wayne hired her. I mean, Indiana, there are any number of
Oh yeah,
qualified people with connections
absolutely.
to the state of Indiana. I mean, that's such a basketball state, and it's a basketball state on the women's side as well. And so it's very,
Isaac Wendell had some really good names for that for potential candidates. I mean, there are some really good potential matches there. And and the funny part is because I kept mentioning K. Peterson Abiad, who by the way wasn't on my Cleveland State list. Oops. Um, but I think he just did it on a whim, just added KPA onto his list, and sure enough, there she is. Um, it's also funny that that happened because I mean we've heard a lot about Marchesano's top assistant Steve Asher. Um, he's the overriding opinion is that's a guy who definitely is ready to take the top job. It I'm not sure if it does. I can't confirm it that he's going to be heading down to Butler with Marcasano, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But I do believe, but we thought that yeah, that guy definitely had a shot for sure, and turns out nope. Turns out that did not happen, and KPA is now the assistant. Is not assistant now the head coach. So um, that's going to be
it'll be
interesting.
it'll be interesting to see for Fort Wayne. As I had mentioned, Butler had a number of young ladies that are from Wisconsin that are in the portal, and obviously to play for Butler, even in a toned down version of what they could be as a program.
Yeah.
They're very high level players, and obviously for KPA having ties to the state of Wisconsin, high school players in the state of Wisconsin, it'll be interesting to see how many former Butler players potentially end up at Purdue Fort Wayne as they're building out their roster.
Very true. Um, I don't think they'll be wanting, that's for sure. Um, I do not, yeah. You know what? It's funny because, yeah, I feel like we got to get her on the pod, man. It's what we do.
There's
It's
there's a
been
different
it's
there's a
been a
different
couple
woman
of
that needs to be
decades
on the
since I,
pod that's
yeah.
starting a new job soon.
Why, yes, that's right. Lost in all of this, and all of this we'll talk about more of the all of this here later, is the reminder that Jill Bodensteiner, our new commissioner, will be will be officially starting her job as commissioner on this Wednesday, April 15th. And you're right, that's a priority. We've got to get Kate Peterson Abiad on this. I feel like that's a that's an obligation. That's a moral obligation for me at least. For but yes, you are correct. Because yeah, I gotta still come up with some of my questions because I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna ask Jill Bodensteiner.
What are you going to ask Kate Peterson, Abiad?
'Cause, like, I don't know. Probably, um, I can't
Is
say where
Carol
have you been because where have you been because Kyle did a whole story on her last year.
Yeah. Question number one, is Carolina still your number one offensive play?
Wow, somebody else
That's
got that reference.
I'm going deep in the weeds here, Bob.
You're digging in the crates, man. That's wow. At least one of our listeners is gonna get that.
Yeah. Yes.
One. So.
All right. Let's focus on the next topic at hand.
Okay, fine. So let's talk about I got to talk about the everybody suing everybody at IU Indy thing. I got to touch on that for a little bit. Um, Mostly because it looks like uh allegedly this thing is going to go to trial, but this thing is going to go on it, it's going to go on trial it's set to go on trial on August 23rd of 2027. By the time this trial's over, the kids who sued him are going to be collecting Social Security.
And this is a civil lawsuit, correct?
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly. So
they're
it's like,
hoping for a settlement.
oh, you mean the one that IU is never giving them ever?
Just saying. Yeah.
I guess. But and remember and keep in mind again, IU the former players are suing IU Indy. The former players are now also suing Corsaro. They tacked him on. Uh, IU Indy is like, oh no, you got to get lumped into this suit with us. And then Corsaro turned around and said, nope, I'm suing you guys. So everybody's suing everybody. Yeah, basically that's what's going on.
Welcome to
What,
America.
which, by the way, Paul Corsaro is currently not in because Paul Corsaro got a new job. He's actually the head coach of, and hopefully nobody in the, what am I saying? Nobody in that league is listening to me here. He's the he's now the head coach of Ironi Nes Ziona in Israel.
Are they
And
signing Yonatan Levy for a season before he comes back to the Horizon League?
you know what? I'm beginning to wonder if they shouldn't because Jonathan Levy is back in the portal again. Because obviously that his time at Pepperdine didn't work out.
I think it
I
worked
mean,
out fantastic for him. He probably made a
I
little
mean,
money. He lived on the Pacific Ocean. He started most of their games. I would guess he's quite happy.
I guess. Like, okay, well then, cool. Paul Corsaro could use you.
Yeah. A lot of teams
But
could
yeah,
use Yonatan Levy. Some in the Horizon League that are devoid of big men right now could use Yonatan Levy.
you know who one of those teams isn't right now? It's I can't believe it. Apparently Cleveland State is like doesn't it actually has big men now. They don't have anybody else.
Would they sign a
But
junior college big guy and a transfer from Kent State? Is that what I was?
DeAndre Jones from Kent State. He is going to be heading to Cleveland State. 6'11" guy. I don't know why Verbal says he's 6'8". Kent State says he's 6'11". I'm going with Kent State's number. Um, and then also Gavin Headings. He's the JUCO guy. 6'9" guy. So, and as far as I know, Ivan Spiroff and Josiah Harris are still on this team unless proven otherwise. Um, so yeah, it's Cleveland State. Everybody else is gone for Cleveland State. They all left. They're not the only ones, but they're the ones that kind of affect me the most. Youngstown State is also, I think I talked about this during the YouTube show. They got one guy coming back from last year, Jaden Haynes. That's it.
Did I tell you my Cleveland State transfer portal story back when they beat Green Bay in Green
I
Bay?
don't believe you did. Which time, by the
The
way?
They beat Green Bay this past season in Green Bay.
Okay.
It was part of their
Yes.
5 game winning streak. It
Oh,
was
yes.
early on in the 5 game winning streak.
That
They won by
seemed like an
like
apparition after that.
yeah, they won by what 7 or 8 points or something.
They
But
did.
the last play of the game, Green Bay, somebody shot a jumper and it bricked, and Nessa goes up, gets a rebound as the buzzer is going off, turns to the scorer's table, says, "Count that as a board." And I turn to the person sitting to me and go, "That's the guy who's padding his stats to get in the portal." And sure enough, here he is. I was actually surprised that he went to Loyola of Chicago. I thought he would try to
I'm
go
not.
at a
I
higher
am
level.
absolutely not. I am absolutely not. Because
Why is that?
remember that initial game that because Cleveland State played Loyola in the first game of the season, and Day and Nessa went off on that in that game. This is what this is what I consider. This is one of the things I consider buy games to be sometimes tryouts. First game of the season, we didn't know, but we sort of knew. Because if I recall correctly, when we had Rob Summers on the preseason show, he mentioned the fact that once Nessa went off in the FIBA U19s, he was getting some people who were wanting him to, back away from Cleveland State and maybe pursue something else. And I'm happy he was there for the year he was. Wish he had been more. Wish he had not gotten hurt at the end of the year. That didn't help anything. So Loyola will
No,
get some good use out of him, though, for sure.
yeah,
They definitely need some help.
I think it's a good level for him. I mean, obviously, as a
Yeah.
freshman coming in at George Washington, he did not
Another
contribute.
A10 school, by the way.
Another A10 school. He didn't necessarily have a great freshman year. Had an amazing sophomore year, and then he goes up to what I think is the right level. And then if he does well there, then you
Yeah.
leverage up a last year into the highest level. I think we see far too many times that people skip a step in the
Hmm.
transfer portal, and they end up
Yeah.
going from where they are to somewhere that they shouldn't be. Now, granted, they get the money, so I can't begrudge him for that. But I really I like that fit for him. Loyola of Chicago has done very well with guys like that they've been able to kind of send up to the
Which
next level. I
they
think,
they certainly need, because last year, this past season was a disaster for them.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
definitely
If
need that
the
pretty
heat is
bad.
on for Coach Valentine, I would have to imagine.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Um,
When
but
you're
I will
thinking
say,
about, as I say, one thing I think is kind of interesting for Cleveland State, Coach Summers, like you see, he's different in terms of like, they always do their post game huddle at the, on the court after the game, win or lose, he's talking to the guys right away after the game on the court in the open.
mhm.
You see like that connectivity he's trying to build with the players, and it actually like almost hurts my heart a little bit that while it seemed like every player, nobody's coming out and be like, this was ridiculous. Nobody's coming out and say this was Corsaro era IU Indy. Everybody seems to have had a good experience, but that alone wasn't enough, especially to keep the guys that like aren't that like you're not going to move up that high and get paid that much more than likely. Like where's Kamari Jones going or whatever his name is? Like where, you had a role, like stay and grow in your
But
role.
that's the thing, though. You look around the Horizon League and you see players that are exactly at that same level as a bunch of the Cleveland State guys who are also heading to the portal. And there's always decisions that are made that may not necessarily. I mean, for a guy like Kamari Jones, I mean, he didn't start getting run until the end of the season, and maybe he felt that maybe even if I make a lateral move, it'll be an opportunity to get some more playing time. And other guys make decisions based on their own personal situations. Case in point, Green Bay, Ramel Bethea, he's in the transfer portal, um, and you know yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he, finds a landing spot somewhere on the East Coast. He's an East Coast kid. He probably hasn't been home in like a million years because he was in the Navy for God knows how long before he even hit college basketball.
Yeah, he hopefully he's
I'm
finds a
gonna miss
spot.
that guy, by the way.
He's an interesting guy. He's very introspective and thoughtful, and a little bit of interactions I have with him. Good personality, and definitely different as a basketball player in terms of like
Yeah,
you know he. I wouldn't call him sensitive by any means, but like that thoughtfulness carries over to his role in the court. Whereas some people are just you see them, they're just wound up tight. They're
yeah.
always like they're like animals. Like that's how they play. And Ramel is not that way at all. He's just a different kind of guy. And I'll
Yeah,
definitely
you
miss.
juxtapose that against a guy like Preston Rieger, who was just scrappy as all get out.
Yeah, that's a good example. Like Preston Reeder, is one of those guys that would say, "I would die for this game," or something along
He
those
almost
lines.
did a couple of times last
Yeah,
season too, man.
and
Dang.
Ramel was the kind of guy in his very thoughtful post on his goodbye. He's like, "It's the game I'm learning to love." Like, there's a big difference between a guy who is balls out for this thing and a guy who's like, "Yeah, I'm liking this. I'm vibing on it. I want to keep doing this." But I think he'll end up going somewhere else, and as long as the coach is patient with him,
Oh yeah.
he will be able to. His physical tools are enough that he can contribute at the mid major level and hopefully make a little bit of money for himself. And I believe he's a father, so make a little money to
Yes.
support his family. That would be amazing for Ramel. We think about like other teams in the current portal situation. I kind of I don't want to say I laugh at, but like Coach Hallett over at IU Indy, he brought in a lot of his own guys, and a lot of those guys left. We saw D'Agostino moving over to Ohio. Now the MAC has more money to spend, but it's like, okay, here is
I
a
think
coach that
also
like,
that also to your point on that one, he is from that area. He's actually his his hometown is close to Athens, so there might have been
Okay.
a little bit of a proximity thing going on there too. But
Yeah.
yeah, they do have more money.
Yeah. And they have a good
Unless they're
program.
spending it on football, which is also a distinct possibility.
I thought that weren't they trying to go to the Sun Belt at one point in time? Yeah, better football
Ohio,
team.
they may still be. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, for
But
all we know,
you look at the role that Jackson Pavletsky had for them. I'm sure they're maybe thinking, hey, he could be a lead scorer for us, and they've had some
yeah.
attrition in the portal. But I just kind of like it kind of hurts me to see IU Indy. They brought in their guys to like stabilize. It's kind of like it's almost like what the former Butler coach did at DePaul. What's that guy's name? Chris Holtman. Yeah, he
Yes.
brought in a lot of Missouri Valley type guys, and he just tried to say, look, we're not trying to win in year one. We're just trying to stabilize where we're at and then elevate in year two. And I feel like that was the plan for IU Indy was to stabilize in year one, which didn't really happen in terms of win loss, and then keep the
hmm
guys and elevate from there. And unfortunately, they didn't keep anybody or maybe two people. So,
They
complete redo.
did. As far as I know, this is who's left for IU Indy. It's Cameron Tisley and Reese Hagee, and the walk-on Garrett Siebert. That's it. That's it. And
Well,
all them dudes.
you
Everybody
can get out
else
the
left.
you can get out the "Hello, my name is" stickers on June 1st. So,
Oh, please. I'm gonna have to do that with I'm probably gonna have to do that with IU Indy. I'm gonna have to do that with Cleveland State. I'm definitely gonna have to do that with Youngstown State. Although I should point out too, I did mention during the YouTube show they got Kelvin Amoako, the 6'11 center. And there was a bunch of Horizon League teams on him. And Youngstown State got him. And
and
then
where's he from?
he's D2, he's from U of Indy. And we're gonna talk about the IU Indy
Oh yeah.
U Indy thing here in a minute. But because apparently that's a thing. Um,
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of lawsuits happening. He's got to have more.
this one's also been going on for a year. It's not a lawsuit per se. Apparently, it's a complaint that was filed with the trademark office in Washington D.C. Seriously, apparently it got filed sometime last year, even though, guys, seriously, you should have known this was coming. They've been IU Indy for a couple of years now. Really, like now you're complaining about it? Okay. Anyway, that's still going on. I don't know if anybody's going to do anything about it because apparently the patent and trademark office is slow as molasses. Good luck with that, folks. But yes, Kelvin Amoako is from UIndy, and as I mentioned, there were a couple of Horizon League teams that were on him, and Youngstown State got him. And also this weekend, Jeff Nwanko from Oklahoma. He's coming to Youngstown State. I think this year he was kind of because the year before he had an Achilles injury, so he was out the entire year. So I think this year he was kind of easing his way back in because he didn't do probably as much as he wanted to. So I guess the plan is that he goes to Youngstown State and he's closer to where he was before the injury. And if that's the case, watch out. That kid is good.
Yeah, that seems like the kind of guy like you think of. Who was the guy that was from Northeast Ohio that was like a linebacker, 6'6" forward? Oh my gosh, what was that guy's name?
Are you talking about Nas Bohannon from my
I
hometown in Lorain, Ohio?
Yes, I am talking about Nas
Yes, you
Bohannon,
are.
and I'm not saying that this guy from Oklahoma will be that, but he's got some of those vibes or some of the Chris Carroll vibes. Like they've had a lot of success with like the 6'6"
Well,
forward.
yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the football part of it because Nwankwo did play football at a certain point. He didn't get hurt doing that, but he did at a certain point, apparently. No kidding. So,
Yeah, he just that kind of guy has been really good for Youngstown. So that's probably a really good fit. And
oh
you
yeah,
know, you look at the strength of the league last year in terms of the championship game. Obviously, it's always a guard league, but you had to have good big guys. And Wright State
yeah.
had Pickett, and at the championship game, you had Jeter and Callum for Detroit Mercy. So there were some good big players there. Detroit, or excuse me, Oakland's in the top tier of the league, and they had a couple big guys. So the top teams in this league had big guys. So Youngstown, I think, is addressing what's needed. Obviously, Robert Morris had some really great interior play as well. So you got to be kind
Oh
of
yeah.
for building blocks. Be like, okay, you got some functional size to work with, if nothing else, for Youngstown as they're building out their roster.
Sure. And they need it too, because again, they're down to one guy from last year, from this season, Jaden Haynes. I guess they got three freshmen coming in, but yeah, they're gonna. All signs are pointing to them hitting the once again, because that's what they do. They're gonna hit the portal hard again. You know who else has
I
to
thought
hit
it,
the portal?
but before you say that, Bob, I thought it was interesting. Eli King left. He's
You
going
mean
to be a
Andrew
five.
King?
Andrew King, excuse me. He is going to be a
Yeah,
5 for 5 guy. Like he's like Arby's from back in the day. Five roast beefs. He's
I
going to
did
be.
not realize that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
so
because he's
I
been.
lost count. I legitimately have lost count of how many guys have been at multiple schools um
Yep.
throughout like a school years for their entire career. I lost count of that, man.
Yeah, but it's hard to get that
It
fifth year in there, and he's going to do it. He's going to have
he is.
D1 5 for 5. We could call him Arby's. He needs to get a nil deal with Arby's 5 for 5.
Well, not going to benefit us, is it? No, because
No,
he's not going to be in the Horizon League. I mean, if he does, it's going to be funny. But yeah, you are correct. Um, Actually, before I get into Milwaukee, because I wanted to talk about them too, because damn, um, you mentioned that whole thing about this bouncing around thing. Um, and again, this is actually something that came up because Brody Robinson uh filed was filed in court to get a temporary restraining order. He was denied, but he may not be done yet either, because this week I guess the NCAA is going to go. Uh, Apparently, they're going to change. They're looking at a rule change where uh, guys can play 5 years. But they have to play it. They actually have to play it within a 5 year time frame. So, but other than that, I don't know. Um, I know there's an executive order that's like talks about only being able to transfer once as an undergrad and once as a grad student. That thing is going to die a horrible death. I hope nobody got their hopes up on getting their hopes up on that one. But the NCAA thing, that's very real, and that's something they're going to be considering very, very soon. And the question with the NCAA thing is, will that affect the guys this that were completed their fourth year of eligibility this year? And naturally, there will be some things they grandfather in, like for example in Ramel Buffet's case, military service, missions. So guys from BYU can play because obviously those guys go on missions for the Mormon Church. So, and I say BYU, I mean there's other guys who they play at other schools, but yeah. So, but that's all gonna get hashed out, and it all is going to be dependent. And some of those guys are gonna certainly be dependent upon that situation. Brody Robinson will be one of those guys. Uh, Two guys who hit the portal who absolutely currently don't have eligibility right now: Bryson Dawkins and Chris Carroll. They would be in that situation.
LJ
They would
Wells.
be LJ Wells. It's funny you mentioned LJ Wells, but and for some reason Verbal Commits has him in the portal, listed in the portal. But if you go on Instagram, it looks like he signed with an agency and he's going pro. So, and even like uh, Darren Horn actually had a post that talked about wishing him luck going pro. So yeah, I think LJ Wells is going to go pro. I think he's not going to spend any more time in school.
Well,
Unless he
the
gets a
amount,
really
the amount,
super good opportunity, but I don't see
the
it
amount he would
happening.
make as a 5th year transfer, if this 5th year for everybody came in now, is more than he'd make as a pro for sure. Like
Huh?
that's why Brody Robinson's fighting so hard for this. Brody Robinson's a pro, but
Well, yeah.
the amount he could make as a
Well,
fifth
see, that's
year
the thing.
guy
I mean,
in the NCAA is
I
more than he
mean,
could make as a
we
pro.
that's the problem, because here's the problem that I see it. It's like, yeah, maybe Brody Robinson is that six-figure, mid six-figure guy, but there are only, I mean, yeah, there's money out there, but there are only but so many spots too.
You
So,
know,
and there are guys who are at the caliber or better than some of the guys we're thinking that might get six figures. And that's something to take into account too. I said this during the YouTube thing. There's going to be some guys that are going to be left holding the bag too, for sure. because
This is a
not everybody's gonna, everybody's gonna get, not everybody in the portal is gonna get a landing spot. It's musical chairs, guys, and at a certain point, the music stops, and if you don't have a chair, you're gonna have to find something else out. I'm pretty sure I said this last year. It bears repeating this year.
this is gonna be a get off my lawn moment, but I hate this idea of a 5 year eligibility, 5 years to play for college, because it's just a slippery slope of if you're adjusting this a few years down the road, somebody's gonna be like, well, why don't we play 6 years? Because this is all a catalyst out of being afraid to put your foot down and saying, okay, well, we hurt these people's ability to make money, yada yada yada. We don't want to get sued. So then it'll be a 6th year, and eventually a 7th year, and eventually they'll be the full pro. But I also say this get off my lawn moment with full recognition that back in the John Wooden days, freshmen had to redshirt and they only got to play 3 years. But the world does change over time, and we all
Mhm.
survive, and it's going to be fine, I suppose. But while we're sitting here thinking about it, it's like you already have complete mobility. You can already set this thing up to make as much money as you can. Like at some point, let college be for college, and then let the pros be for pros. And I just would prefer, as I'm sitting here talking with you this afternoon, to say, hey, you can play 4 years in a 5 year window of time, or even a 6 year window of time with medical issues. Like if you blow out your knee twice, you should get your full 4 years. Fine, I'm good with
Yeah.
that. But like college for college and pros for pros, I think that would resonate a lot better with fans. And yet, by what I can tell, tons of people tuned in and watched the NCAA tournament this year. So maybe none of this stuff is really affecting the viewer at home, which is what drives all this stuff anyway.
Of course, and yeah, I mean, uh, just speaking from a former student standpoint, I don't have a problem with the 5 years. I just don't. Some of us took forever to finish school. Damn it! I'm not going to begrudge them. I will say this. I will say this. At a certain point in time, because I know we kind of, I know that we go through this same thing every year without fail, where we bemoan the idea, bemoan the idea of losing the Horizon League's players. It happened last year. It obviously happened this year already. But that's the thing about the Horizon League. Just because we got outflow doesn't mean we're not going to get quality guys coming back, that are incoming. It doesn't mean that at all. And we have had some outstanding players come into this conference
Oh
from the
yeah,
transfer
no,
portal. So
no
it
doubt about it.
it so the door so the bad news is, yes, some of the kids that we see that we'd like to stay are probably not going to stay, and God bless them. I mean, there's money to be had. Go get the bag. At the same time, take heart in the fact that there's some really good players that are currently in the portal that there's an outstanding chance that they land in this league. And I don't, from my standpoint, I don't, from a performance standpoint, I don't see the drop off. I didn't see the drop off last year. I definitely didn't see it this year. We're still going to have this conversation in like January, February, how there's a log jam in the middle of the standings. And I don't think that's going to change I don't think that's going to change even if there's an entire roster turnover. And there
You're,
absolutely was this year with Robert Morris.
yeah, you're 100% right in where you're coming from in terms of there's going to be new good players. It's just,
Hmm.
we all prefer, or not we
Sure.
all, many people prefer familiarity. They prefer the idea of like, hey, I found a guy and I kept him, we built him up. But, the Kiefer Sykes type story. And
Yeah.
that's out the window. The
And
the
Green
one
Bay has
different,
one now with Marcus Hall.
yeah, but Marcus is a very good player.
Yeah.
Kiefer Sykes was an NBA player. I mean, it's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
little bit different
Without
there.
Hey, I
But
believe
what I
he's
was
in
gonna
the
say,
Chinese league now, by the way.
oh yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
that pays a lot
Well,
of money over there.
this is kind of at the end of the day where what I refer to is the And again, I alluded to this on the YouTube show. I'm pretty sure I've said it a few times already on this podcast, is that I mean, I think I feel like we are at a point that, you know, the transitional pieces, the transition of players, even coaches, it currently is an inevitability. Players come, players go. Some of them stay a year, some of them stay 3 or 4. That's just the nature of things now. And until something changes, that is our reality in the near future. And so because of that, I once again stipulate that, once again state that for fans in the Horizon League, it is at the end of the day, and I may be wrong about this, and you may think I'm wrong about this, everyone, but I don't care, that the name on the front of the jersey means a hell of a lot. And for us as fans, there is something to be said about school pride. And I got to tell you, there are schools that have a ton of school pride in this conference, and there are a ton who absolutely positively do not. To which I say, do better, guys.
I
See if
think
you can guess who I'm talking about there.
I'm
But
not here
no,
to
I mean
beg it.
seriously, I brought this up the other day. I brought this up during the YouTube show. I'm like, think about every one of our member schools having a bunch of kids run around in not your school colors. Take that into account. I'm like, yeah, that's going to affect you down the road, and it does in a lot of places.
Yeah, separate of everyone's school pride and the ability to build a decent team, I think the biggest issue we're seeing in this whole movement of players from the mid-major level isn't that we won't get new good players, but you won't have enough continuity of your players to really, get past like the second round. Like you look at High Point's a good example. They had a super
High
expensive
Point, who, by
roster.
the way, just snagged Isaac Garrett, by the way,
Yep,
from
and
Oakland.
they have money to spend. It is the High Point machine and the way it's built. It's a very fascinating university in terms of how they're rebuilt their university and what they're doing and how they're doing it. But they have money to spend, lots of money on men's basketball. And even they, best they could do with that was eke out a first round win. We didn't see in the tournament a true Cinderella this year. And I think that is what is really going to be missing here, is not the will somebody in the Horizon League put together a good team. It's how are you going to put together a team good enough to really go full St. Peter's? Like, when are we going to see that? Or full Florida Gulf Coast? Like some of those iconic and super fun Cinderellas that came up out of nowhere and then were gone just as quickly as they arrived. That's what I want to see. And usually those are built with guys that have been there a little bit, coaches that have been there a little bit. And I would love to see somebody be able to put enough money into this to buy and retain a roster in today's era and give us a true, I guess it wouldn't even be a Cinderella because they would be bought and paid for, but at least it'd be a non-marquee
Well, the
name.
other thing too, and I feel like this part is important too, is there is going I feel like there's going to be a logical stopping point on this arms race, because at a certain point in time, all these rich dudes who are shoveling money at these giant programs, eventually they're gonna realize their return on investment isn't proportional to what they're spending, and they may cut off the spigot, and that might be
Or
problematic.
or for the private schools that can throw money at this. We're already seeing, like you saw Campbell this year. Like they loaded up on their roster and they got a 500 year. All the guys that are eligible left. The coach quit, and the new guy they hired from D2, they're not going to spend any money on it. Like they're already seeing capitulation at the lower level, and that was after 1 year of spending. So kind of an interesting world that we're operating in.
It certainly is. And by the way, shout out to Grand Canyon, who always spends money and somehow didn't end up anywhere this year. Bummer.
Yeah, well, the
Had to,
online degree factory is that business
ugh.
model. Them and Liberty, that's still running hot. The machine is running hot there.
Yeah, definitely don't get me started on Grand Canyon, but that's a whole other, not anything to do with Horizon League basketball thing ever. So, um, all right. I think that was it. You got anything
All right.
else? I feel like I missed something, but you know what? That's okay. Um, so next episode we're gonna, well, I mean,
You know
in
what?
a night,
We have to have one last bullet point.
yes,
I like you follow the Verbal Commits Horizon League page to see,
yes.
and
Well,
I,
I need it for the
I
transfer tracker, which by the way is on horizonroundtable.com.
yeah, and I just wanted to point out that there was one trainer listable commits with no fanfare, tremendous that nobody has said anywhere that I've seen, at least and that is Milwaukee had Pippa enter the court universe, and
Yeah,
that's a
apparently so.
fan that
And you know what?
reads a message board, and I read their stuff.
I can say this. He did mention it on IG, so that was it. It was mentioned. Oh, and by the way, before we go, Ryan Prather found the landing spot. He's going to Iowa State.
For him, he probably
Yes.
got paid
So, and
easily $500,000.
hopefully he gets more minutes than Eric Mulder did.
It that Iowa State they're hauling in guys left and right now. They got Leon
Oh,
Bond from
absolutely.
Northern Iowa. They got somebody else I saw as well, and they were able to retain Jamari and Bateman, a
Hmm.
couple other players. I'm gonna just this is probably you can't we're not supposed to say this stuff, but I'm gonna say it anyway. With all these guards and wing type players coming, maybe Xavier Mitchell, who is from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, will come to Green Bay.
You still holding out for that, huh?
Oh yeah, he's at Iowa State. He's a freshman. He played under the minimum games to be able to redshirt. They're bringing in a bunch of guys over the top of him. Maybe we'll see Mitchell in the portal if he isn't already, and he'll be wearing green and white. That would be my dream scenario for this offseason.
Yeah. But yeah, again, to your point, yeah, I mean, yeah, not see, this is the other thing too, and yeah, verbal commits outstanding work. Those guys do an amazing job. Um, the most of the stuff I get from the put on the transfer tracker comes from verbal commits, comes from Twitter, and it comes from IG. But I mean, by and large, the most of these players are posting both on IG and Twitter, sometimes both, sometimes one or the other. Sometimes they have their agents do it, which leads me to the question, agents, why are you not following us? Come on, guys, you're killing me here.
Yeah,
Come on. I feel like that's a big ask, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to go in the weeds on all that one, but I mean, and there's so
Bob,
many and there's so many Twitter accounts that like talk about the portal. I mean, do we really need to be another one? I mean, would I like
you
that information to add on the tracker? Absolutely. Do I
know,
need it firsthand? It's not a deal breaker for me.
I don't want to be selling the Horizon Roundtable's soul here, but a few agent Patreons, and then maybe miraculously a player feature or two pops up on your guy. Like I don't know, isn't that how the world works? And in the real world works, probably not in journalism though, so we can't do that. But anywhere else, you can't tell me some of those websites that put all the player clips out there instantaneously aren't getting paid for that. Like
Oh no. I mean, well, no. I mean, some of them start out that way and then they turn into giant, player portal databases and services, and that's not our obviously that's not
not our
us.
mission, not our mission.
That is not our mission. That is so it sounds like such a pain in the ass, and I
Yeah.
am definitely not doing that to myself.
Our mission
And
is to
neither are
talk about the
you.
good, bad, and otherwise in the Horizon or in the Horizon League. I think we've covered everything of note for this week. When
Yeah,
we
we have.
reconvene next week, it'll be interesting to see if we're starting to get some more landing spots, if we have any news on the Cleveland
Or
State women's
or
coach.
ideally Oh, we're definitely. I feel like we're close. I feel like we are extremely close on the Cleveland State search. We'll see how many more how many more transfers besides Jory Bualda show up at Green Bay. Doesn't seem like they need that many this year because they have
I
a
feel like they
bunch
need
of.
some guards, like some point guards. Like they,
No,
you
I
think of
mean,
Pepler, how good she was, and then before that it was Natalie McNeil. They had just absolute bulldogs at the point guard position. I don't know who that is for them. So I'm not saying they don't
I
have
don't
it.
know.
I don't watch enough, and I don't watch it closely enough to say they have it or they don't. But that's kind of like what I'm in my mind. I'm like, who's going to be the next person that's running the show for them? I know they have
No.
returning. They have Marin Weston, who's was a very good player, got injured, and
Mhm.
and they've done so good with developing players that they probably have two people, that I just don't know about. But either way, that's what I'm looking for.
Either way.
All
But
right.
yeah, so next week we're either going to be talking more portal. We're going to talk about the Cleveland State search. Hopefully, I pray that it's over. And I'm not a praying man, Jim, but I'm praying that this is over soon. Um, or we'll be talking to the new commissioner. That's certainly on the table as well. But until then, horizonroundtable.com. That's where you can find all of our articles and all of our podcast episodes. Jim, we have baseball. We're doing baseball stuff. So I know neither you or I, that's a going concern for us, given that our schools don't have it. But it is for other people. So
Love
yeah,
it.
we're still going.
Good.
So horizonroundtable.com. That's you can find all that there. Find the transfer tracker there. You know, you can pull up the podcast wherever podcasts are available. You can pull us up on your Amazon or Google devices. So tune in next time. Until then, thank you all for listening.